All right. Well, welcome all. We're so glad that you could join us. We are part of a group of people, Lindsay, myself, and Nikki here on the call that are excited to take health back. And we call ourselves the Healthy Living Revolution. And we're looking to do that in just simple ways, doable ways, and even fun ways in community, which is always the best way to make changes. And so tonight we're just going to go through and do a little bit of education about where we're at, and then just share with you a simple solution. There'll be several simple solutions during the talk, but a simple solution that we're really excited about to share with you tonight. So as we get started, we're going to start with where we're at. And right now, there are two startling trends going on in the world today. And the first one is that our environmental toxins are increasing. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know this, right? We are carrying the greatest toxic load in this country of any time up to date, right? So whether it is the air that we breathe, whether it is the water that we're drinking, whether it is the electromagnetic frequencies that are all around us with Wi-Fi, whether it's the things that we're putting on our skin that have chemicals in them. If you're a woman, it's makeup and it's lotion and it's all those things. We just have a load of toxins every single day that we cannot escape because of the world that we live in. And at the same time, our food quality is decreasing. So this gentleman's in the middle of the grocery store. It looks like he's trying to find something to eat, and in the middle of the store, he's most likely finding a food-like product, not necessarily food. And so on the sides of the screen, you're seeing all the things that are going to be in that food-like product, and none of that is really nourishing to our body. So on my own health journey, which started around 18 years ago, I began to make small changes. And one of those changes was just from a random comment that someone said to me that, you really need to look to buy foods that your grandmother would have been able to buy. Because if she could buy it, back in, my grandma lived in, was of the time, when she was a young woman, was in the 1950s. If she could buy it, then that most likely is real food. If she wouldn't have known what it is, you probably shouldn't be buying it. So that really kind of opened my eyes to the type of food that I wanted to be putting into my body. The other thing that changed for me is when I started looking at food labels. In the beginning, I was just looking at calories and fat. I was really focused on that because I grew up in kind of the low fat generation. And I switched somewhere along the way about 15 years ago. Instead of looking just at calories, because not all calories are created equal, I started looking at ingredients and really started focusing on buying things that had 5 ingredients or less. And in doing that, I believe really shifted my family and my own health for the better. So all things that you can pronounce, so they're not going to have multiple syllables and they're not going to end in 8. Usually it's like bioflyphosphate or something crazy that you cannot pronounce. So we're looking to avoid those. So environmental toxins on the rise, food quality on the decrease. And because of that, what David Katz says is very, very alarming and unfortunately true, that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. And if you look around, you are seeing that. Our children today are sicker than they have ever been with diseases that didn't exist when you and I were children. The 36 most fastest growing diseases right now are brand new. They weren't around 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they don't have anything to do with germs. They're all autoimmune, they're neurological, they are just a brand new type of disease, and they are impacting our children left and right. So listed are some facts that you can take a look at, but really, really scary. And this is not okay. This is not, if you have children, I'm sure as a parent, this is not okay for you. I mean, we expect that our children will do better than us, right? We live in this amazing country, and yet we are at the bottom for health outcomes. We're actually 34th out of 35 as far as health outcomes in the developed world, which is just, shocking, really. So I hate to dwell on the negative, but yet we have to really look at where we're at before we can make changes. And so this is where we are with our children. And then Dr. Sears, who is one of my favorite doctors. He's known as America's pediatrician. He's been practicing for over 50 years. He's now 80. He gives us the picture for adults, which is not much better, right? 1 in 3 are living with some cardiovascular disease. 1 in 3 women have cancer. 1 in 2 men will have cancer, diabetes, obesity, chronic pain. In fact, the CDC has lowered the average lifespan 2 times in the last several years. We're down to our average lifespan being 74 years of age, which is not very old. And when people are saying that 70 is, you know, the new 40, but unfortunately, the average age is 74 is when people are dying. So here we are again in the most advanced country, and yet not having any real success with all of this disease. But why we are here tonight is because there is hope. There is always hope. And what Dr. Sears says is what gives us that hope, that 75% of all chronic disease, and the many of these things listed here, are chronic diseases. Not genetic, but chronic. And 75% of them are preventable. So there is something that we can do, and we don't have to wait until we end up in the camp of disease. We can do something today to change that. And so we look at, this is where we get a little technical, oxidative stress is one of the pillars of every one of those diseases that I just listed. So you tell me a name of a disease, and I will tell you that oxidative stress is one of the things that kicks that off. And oxidative stress is something that every one of us has in our lives to some degree or another. So we can have oxidative stress in our lives for good reasons and for not so good reasons. Some of the not so good reasons would be smoking, would be drinking, would be eating poorly, ingesting food that has a lot of toxins in it. Some of the good reasons that we have oxidative stress is pregnancy, is nursing. How about exercise? That's a great thing, but it does create more stress in our body. Oxygen is kind of a two-edged sword, if you will. It is the very thing that keeps us alive, and that's awesome. We need oxygen, but it also is what is created. Oxidative stress is created by the more oxygen our body has to use, the more stress it creates on our body. So you go out running, clearly you're using more oxygen, but you're also creating more stress. And if we look at this apple, we can see that immediately when we cut an apple, it's exposed to oxygen and it starts to brown, right? And I don't know about you, but when I was younger and I would make a fruit salad with my mom, she would always put lemon juice on it. And I never really understood why. She just did it, so I did it, right? And I never knew why. But the reason is because lemons and lemon juice is an antioxidant. And so when you put lemon juice on a fruit salad, it stops the apple or slows the apple down from browning. It's the same in our own bodies. The defense to oxidative stress are antioxidants. They actually come along and they grab the free radicals that are going around in our body, pinging everywhere and doing damage on the inside, and they grab it and they neutralize it and they help take it and bring it out of our bodies, actually help us detox our bodies. On the outside, this, you know, we see the signs of aging, right? In this woman, you can see the signs of aging. The aging is going on inside our bodies too. In every cell in our body, we are aging if we're not providing our body we're not providing our body antioxidants to help in this. And so where do we find those? I think probably most of us know the only place we find antioxidants are in plants and fruits and vegetables and berries. We have a very small amount of antioxidants in our own bodies, but most of them are coming from our nutrition, from the food that we eat. Unfortunately, though, we have a produce today that's packing a much less nutritional punch. So some varieties have lost up to 40% of their nutritional content. There's a couple of reasons for this. Again, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, so just hang in there. So one of the reasons why we have less nutritional content in our produce is because of soil depletion. And part of that is just because of greed. We wanted to grow more, quicker, faster, and so we have not taken time to replenish our soil. And we really are connected to the earth. So when our soil is depleted, it makes for a depleted plant, and a depleted plant makes for a depleted person. And it is a cycle that repeats itself over and over and over again. So that, you know, depletion in the soil directly impacts, and there's a depletion in us. And that's where a lot of the sickness we are seeing is coming from. And then the other thing is that nothing is ripened on the vine anymore. Again, trying to pick it quickly to because we're shipping it further and further, right? It's going now from Chile, where they're growing tomatoes, and shipping them up to the Aldi here in Crestwood. I mean, that wasn't picked on the vine. And why does that matter? That actually matters amazingly so, because over 90% of the nutrition is coming into a plant when it is ripe. And so even though you pick it, if you pick it before and you ripen it on your counter, you may be able to eat it, but it will never have the nutrition that it would have had it been able to stay on the vine until it was ripe. And so if you think about the baby, the plant is the fruit or vegetable is the baby of the plant. Just like we have a baby, right? If we're a woman and we're growing that baby, we know that if we have that baby prematurely, the outcomes are never as good. We want to keep that baby inside as long as possible, connected to its nutrient source so it can develop fully. It's the same with a fruit or vegetable. We pick it early, it's not as good for us. So this picture really shows that in just a clear way. And National Institute of Health did a study taking spinach that was grown in 1953 and compared it to spinach that was grown in 1997. And what they found is that you would have to eat 53 bowls of spinach in 1997 to equal the 1 bowl of spinach in 1953. And that was just for iron content. That's what they were measuring, okay? There's a whole lot more than iron in spinach. That's just one thing. Everything else obviously was going to follow suit and be the same. Everything else is depleted. And so that is a great picture of, I think, why we're seeing the level of sickness that we are today. So back in the 50s and 60s, we came up with the vitamin, okay? The government figured out, well, there is a problem. They knew it already then. And so maybe if we go in and we figure out what's important in food and we isolate it and we try to create it in a lab and then we put it in a pill, maybe that will help us. Okay, but let's see, that's how many years ago? 60, 70 years ago? I mean, is that really done any good? No, right? Because we see the statistics. People are not getting better because they're taking vitamins. And the most recent research out there actually says the opposite. The vitamins are doing no good, and in some ways they're harming us because they're creating a toxic overload of certain vitamins that our body doesn't even need or know how to use. Okay, so that is on one side of your screen. The other side is the apple, the food that we were made to eat. That's what our bodies run on. There are no vitamin trees growing anywhere. There are apple trees. So inside of the apple are over 20,000 phytonutrients. When I say phytonutrients, I mean vitamins, minerals, enzymes, antioxidants. I mean, so many that we haven't even named them all. We've named about half of them at this point. And they all work together. So, you know, item 230 needs item 5020 to work. And when they don't have each other, they don't work the same way. So a great instance or example of this is lycopene. So years ago, lycopene was getting a lot of just attention in the news of being really protective for men and prostate cancer. So everybody's excited about lycopene, but then they went to isolate it and did it, you know, put it in a petri dish and then put cancer cells next to it, and nothing happened. Lycopene had no protective power when it was isolated. However, when it was eaten inside the tomato, it did. So yes, eat tomatoes in their raw form or their cooked form, and that is protective, but isolated and alone, not the same. Vitamin C, people, you know, think that vitamin C is amazing for helping with colds and such, but 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C does the same thing in the body as 4 milligrams of vitamin C in the apple. So we don't need massive amounts of these vitamins. We just need to have whole food. Okay, so 7 to 13 servings of fruits, vegetables, and berries every single day. That's a lot. And that's if you're just a normal, healthy person. Back when I was growing up, it was 5 a day. Well, they're increasing that partly because they know that things have been, you know, they're not as nourishing as they used to be. So now it's going up. If you exercise, pregnant, if you're nursing, or you're fighting some sort of disease, 16 to 20 servings of fruits and vegetables is what you need. So to buy that at the store, to prepare that and to eat that is more than I can do on any given day. Although I know that that's what's protective, so I know I need it. So we have found an amazing solution in the Juice Plus company and the Juice Plus products, which you see here and are just beautiful. When you look at that array, there are 30 different the essence of 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries that are vine ripened and available in powdered form. And so 25 years ago, Juice Plus hit the market, and it was developed by a doctor, Dr. Smokey Santillo, who was helping cancer patients to heal using juicing. And 25 years ago, if you think that's kind of alternative now, it was very alternative then. But he was having success with it. His own father ended up with lymphoma and was given 3 weeks to live. He went, he grabbed him, he checked him out of the hospital after they had removed his spleen, and he was down to a very, very sickly weight of like 130 pounds at 6'4". So he couldn't eat, he couldn't do anything. He really was dying. He took him to Arizona to his office, and he started to give him these juices, and it wasn't working. And so he tried to figure out how he could make them more powerful. And this is where the magic happened. So he decided, well, you know what? I'm going to just put all the pits in, and the peels and the seeds and the rinds. And this was before the science was showing how powerful pits and peels and seeds and rinds are, because now we know they are. He didn't know then. But his dad knew, because his dad started to get better, which is amazing. And he ended up living 6 more years, and had an incredible quality of life. He built a house. I mean, it was a wonderful story. And he took it to the president of what is now the Juice Plus company, and they took this to the market 25 years ago. And it has done nothing but grow in popularity. And as you'll see, the research proving just that it really is doing amazing things in the body because it is food. So I want to share with you what sets us apart, because there truly is not anything else like it on the market. It stands in a class of its own, and here is why. The first reason is because on the back, and I have my Juice Plus here, on the back, if you turn it around, you're going to see something unique here, unique in the supplement realm, okay? It says nutrition. It says nutrition facts. If you go to your cupboard, if you have any supplements there and you turn those around, they're going to say supplement, because they are not food. Even if they might say whole food vitamin, still going to say supplement, because it may have a little bit of a whole food powder, but most of it is just going to be an isolated vitamin. So it has a food label. It is actually food that your body knows what to do. It's desiccated, just plain, we call it powdered produce in a capsule, which is amazing. So it has all of those phytonutrients in there working synergistically all together. It's non-genetically modified, it's dairy-free, and it's gluten-free. So that's the first thing that sets it apart. The second thing is that it is NSF certified. Again, maybe not something you would notice, but if you turn around the back of your supplement, you're going to see if it has a certification. Less than 1% of them do, because it's very expensive and it's very hard to keep. Juice Plus has had their certification for over 20 years, which means they are testing at every single level. They're testing on the farm, they're testing the soil, they're testing the plant, they're testing the product as it's juice, they're testing the final product. And what that says to you is there are absolutely no pesticides, herbicides, toxins, fungus, or mold. And you cannot say that about organic produce. So whether you know that or not, organic is definitely better. But organic now does not mean that it hasn't sprayed. There are over 200 toxins that can be sprayed on organic produce, just at a smaller amount than your regular, okay? So that's something to consider. And then the final piece, which really, again, puts it in a class of its own, is all of the research. There are over 35 clinical studies on Juice Plus to this date, and they're not done in a Juice Plus lab somewhere. They're done in universities all around the country, from MD Anderson to Georgetown to Yale. These are some of the most premier universities, research universities in the world. And what they're finding is that Juice Plus does some amazing things in the body, reducing inflammation, reducing oxidative stress. I mean, you name it, Juice Plus is doing it. And it's not because it's Juice Plus, you guys, it's because it's food. And our bodies, when they're given good nutrition, know what to do with it, and they know how to run well and heal. One of my very favorite studies I'm going to share with you real quickly is on the heart. The leading cause of death right now is heart disease in men and in women. Cancer is coming up there real quickly, but still right now it's heart disease. So the University of Maryland had 3 cardiologists, and they wanted to do this study because they knew that most heart attacks were happening after high-fat meals. And so they said, we're going to take a group of people, we're going to feed them a high-fat meal, and then we're going to measure the constriction, the vasoconstriction in their arteries. So they went ahead and sent them to McDonald's, and they all had a high-fat meal, and they measured that vasoconstriction. They found, if you can look on the left side of your screen, that's the first group there, the placebo group. They all had 50% constriction. Okay, so everybody's body was working about 50% harder after that high-fat meal. They sent them home. One was a placebo group, one was on the fruits and the veggies, and one was on the fruits, veggies, and berries. And they sent them home for 28 days and did nothing different but take Juice Plus, okay? So they weren't starting a new exercise program. They weren't starting a new eating program. They just kept doing what they're doing, but they took Juice Plus. They brought them back. They did the same thing, fed them the meal, measured their constriction. And what they found is that the group on the placebo group was exactly the same, which we would expect. The fruit and veggie group had 68% less constriction, which is amazing. Like, I would go home and be excited about that. But you add the berries in, which obviously have something major impact on constriction, because the people that added the berries had 98% less constriction, basically no constriction at all, which says that when we flood our body with the good, it can overcome and compensate for the bad that we're doing, which is just amazing. So I guess you can go get a Big Mac if you want, if you're on Juice Plus, and your body won't react as negatively. I don't advise it, though. I do not advise it. So the other thing that Juice Plus has, we have a very small product line, which I absolutely love. What we do really, really well. And I'm just going to say that, you know, companies try to go wide and try to do all kinds of things, right? So they're handling your mascara, and they're trying to handle your cleaning products. They're trying to handle your nutrition products. And I'm just saying, you can't do all things well. Juice Plus does a few things, and they do them really well. Okay. So we have our fruits, vegetables, and berries, and then we have our shakes, which are so good. I have one every day, and I look forward to it. And I cannot tell you that about any other shake I've ever had. It really is that delicious. It's low glycemic, so it stabilizes your blood sugar, keeps you full. It's vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy free, plant-based protein. Okay, so it's not going to be inflammatory like a whey protein would be. It's going to be available to your body and not cause inflammation. And then it has powerful prebiotic fibers in it, okay, and oligosaccharides that help heal your gut. So we talk a lot about probiotics, but if we have prebiotics, we're not going to need the probiotics. We're needing probiotics because our diets are so poor that we aren't having that good gut bacteria. But when we eat fruits and vegetables, those are actually the best probiotics there are. And there's tons of different bacteria in fruits and vegetables that are healthy and will help repair and grow our good gut bacteria in a way that keeps us healthy. So these shakes are awesome. I just, you know, if you can talk to the person who invited you, Lindsay, and maybe she can give you a sample or whatever, but I highly, highly recommend. My kids love them. They ask for one every day, if they would have one every day if they could. And then the last thing that we have are our omegas, which are these beauties here. And those were introduced almost 2 years ago next month. And people in Juice Plus realized that the other place where people were trying to bridge a gap was with omegas, because we cannot make omegas ourselves. We have to get them from food, okay? And a lot of people were thinking fish oil. We think, oh, well, fish have omegas. But here's the news, guys. Fish do not have omegas. They get them from the algae. And our fish, number one, it's not sustainable. It takes 4 to 5 pounds of fish to make 1 ounce of oil. Number two, our oceans are also been polluted and are toxic, and so are our fish. So when we're getting the oil, it's been tainted by the pollution of our ocean. So Juice Plus said, let's cut out the fish. We'll go straight to the algae. We're going to add a wide spectrum, so lots of different omegas, not just omegas-3, omegas-3, 6, 5, 7, and 9. And there have been 2 studies that I want to highlight that have come out recently. The first one is that a lack of omegas in a woman's diet when she's pregnant is being directly connected to postpartum depression, okay? Because when babies are growing quickly, especially in the last trimester, they will take everything to grow their brains, and our brains are made out of fat, and healthy fats and omegas fit that category. They will deplete the mom. And so it's been linked to postpartum depression. And then another study just came out saying that people who took omegas and had a good level of omegas had a slower shrinking brain than those that didn't. Our brain is shrinking. It starts shrinking from the time we're 20 or so on until the end of our lives, but we can slow that down with omega supplementation. So to me, that is a no-brainer, and that's a pun intended. So at this time, let me think. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to say a couple more slides. I forgot. So it is totally affordable. The best thing about Juice Plus is how economical it is. Kids are free. Hello, if an adult is taking it, and I'm just going to show you that Starbucks because we are spending all kinds of money on habits that are not serving us. So how about we transfer a little of that money and spend it on a habit that is serving us, right? Because here's the reality. You're going to spend money on your health. And I would rather do it on this side, not on the side of when I've gotten myself into a hole and now I'm trying to get out of it. So we spend a little bit every day. It's called prevention. It's called being proactive. And that's what I love about Juice Plus. It's peace of mind to me that no matter what kind of day I had, I can still fuel my body with this amazing nutrition every day. And so I end with this. Dr. Richard DuBois was one of the first doctors of now thousands that have jumped on board with Juice Plus. And he says this: there is nothing available anywhere in the world with or without prescription that has been proven to do in the body what Juice Plus does. So pretty amazing stuff. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Lindsay, I would love for you to unmute yourself, or I will unmute you. I went ahead and did that. And if you would like to share with us just why you are so excited about Juice Plus and sharing it with your friends.
So I started Juice Plus, oh gosh, a little over 3 months ago. And it was after talking to my friend, Nikki. She's just someone that is a little more health conscious than I am and something I desired to be. And I started, hearing the different possibilities and the different things that it could possibly help. And one of my main concerns was my son's allergies. His dad has awful allergies. I was afraid that he was going to inherit his dad's awful allergies. And come right about 3 years old, it seemed like those allergies were rearing their ugly head. And so I decided to start Juice Plus, and I started Milo on it at the same time. And I will tell you that since Milo has been on Juice Plus for the last 3.5 months, he has not had any allergy medicine. None. He's had maybe 2 minor colds, but he is not needing to pop that allergy medicine every day, every 24 hours like clockwork. And I can deal with a minor cold. As far as the results I've seen so far, mine, I wouldn't say are as dramatic, but I have noticed that I do go to the bathroom more frequently, which is a good thing because I really wasn't going as often as I should. So I do know that I'm, cleaning out my gut and I'm on my way to a healthy gut. But the other thing that I've noticed is there are people in my office. I work in an office environment. We are in cubicles. It's pretty open. And there are people getting sick around me. Before I went on vacation, the guy that sits catty corner from me got sick. And I'm like, oh, this is the last thing I need to get sick right before vacation. And then the girl that sits right behind him and next to me got sick. And I'm like, oh, I'm next. I never got sick. And then right now, the girl who sits behind me actually was at home sick today, and I feel great. So, I am kind of starting to slowly recognize that I'm not getting sick when I probably normally would have gotten sick. And the changes of the seasons and the changes of the weather aren't impacting me as much as they used to.
That's
And
awesome.
I can't wait to see what other changes I notice.
Oh, Lindsay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And what I love is that you are already seeing changes. And it's not surprising that you're seeing them first in Milo because kids are resilient, right? They've had less years to kind of get into that hole. And so a lot of times we see it real quick with kids with eczema and that sort of thing. They clear up so fast. And adults come around. It just might take them a little bit longer, but you're already seeing that your immune system is stronger with fighting off those colds. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Nikki, I wanted to ask you to hop on or go ahead and unmute yourself, and would love for you to share.
Sure. Juice Plus made sense to me because a trusted friend, Julie, shared it with me, and she researches everything. And I decided to take Juice Plus before I even saw the amazing research for myself. As healthy as my family eats, I knew it was something good I could do for my family every day, because as we talked about, I knew that plants are far less nutritious as they used to be because of soil depletion. The more I looked at the research done on Juice Plus, the more excited I became. I will continue to take Juice Plus because not only do I know the importance of food as medicine to stay healthy, but I noticed my skin looking better, and no cream can do what the body can do from the inside out when given the proper nutrients. The biggest change I saw with my kids, and there's 7 of them, is that we got through December without missing any Christmas parties. Every single year in December, everyone in my house gets so sick, but not after starting Juice Plus. We made it to every party together as a family. So I'm happy to continue protecting my family and give us what we need for quality of life and longevity.
That's awesome, Nikki. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that. Well, I thank you that you trusted me and stopped in when you didn't really know, right? Like, what is she talking about? But I do research, guys, and I have researched, and that's why I'm spending my time sharing with other people, because there really isn't anything else out there like that. And I just don't think we live in a time anymore that we can bury our head in the sand and think that, well, just kind of eat what I eat and it's not going to catch up with me. I had a friend of mine just yesterday diagnosed with double breast cancer. It's in both her breasts, it's in her lymph nodes. It's like the 4th person in my life in a very short period of time, all in their 40s. You guys, it isn't, it is happening. It's happening around us. And unless we do more than we're doing, what is to say that we don't end up in that same place, right? And so this is just a simple, easy, I call it Jetson food. Somebody put kale in a capsule and you can take it every single day without having to necessarily eat it. And so I want to just end this time by saying, you know what, if any of this interested you, get with a person, with Lindsey, if she invited you, and find out about how you could get started. Or maybe you're thinking about somebody else and you think, oh my gosh, my best friend needs to hear this. Connect them, share this video with them. And maybe you think, I just need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and that's awesome too, absolutely. And I would say, if you can, do it locally, find a farmer's market, find somebody who's growing things responsibly, and take your health back. You have control of that. We really can do something. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy week to spend some time with us. I hope you learned something. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.